Welcome everybody, thank you for joining me. My name is Daniel. This is Daniel Teaches, the psychology student that tells you all about psychology, motivation, life, anxiety, depression. You know what it is. You can find this on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TikTok, you name the social media platform, and I am on it. Folks, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing safe. For today's episode, we're going to be talking about depression and what it's like interacting with people who are depressed. Now, I'm going to start off giving you an example of one mistake that I did in my younger years that I see people make all the time, and I want to make sure that you don't make that same mistake. Long story short, I've never shared much about my background, and that won't be the video for this, but it's important to know that I'm a part of an immigrant family, meaning that we came from somewhere else. And if we were happy there and if we were healthy and safe, we wouldn't have left to begin with. Long story short, we saw war, we saw racism up close, we saw tyranny, dictatorship, violence, and we moved to Canada, right? Now, what happens is, oftentimes for immigrants, if they've left somewhere, which is absolutely horrific, and you come to a place where it's relatively safe, you feel like you're on cloud nine. People ask me, Dana, why are you in a good mood all the time? It's because I'm grateful. It's because I can compare where we've come from to where we are today, right? The fact that I go out and I don't have to think about gang violence is a privilege. The fact that I go out and I don't have to worry about hearing sirens, which say, hey, be careful, there are enemy jets flying over. You've got 5 minutes to find a bunker before you get bombed. I wake up every day and I know 9 times out of 10, I'm going to see my family in the morning, right? That's never a guess. It's never a flip of a coin, right? So these are privileges. Here's the mistake that I did years ago. When you're told so many stories, when you fought and clawed to survive, and sometimes you survive just by luck, and you made it here. You're so grateful to be here. You're so blessed to be here. And it shows in your mood. That's why I'm so enthusiastic. That's why I'm so excited. I know there's so many people who talk about discipline and work ethic and ambitious, man, they just weren't lucky. Call it God, call it fate, call it coincidence, call it luck. They're not alive today, and I am. And none of it is due to my own fault, due to my own discipline or work ethic. It's because people made sacrifices on my behalf. So when I came to Canada and I started learning about suicide and people killing themselves here, I don't feel happy to say this out loud, but it's important that we're honest with each other. Folks, I almost looked down on those people because my mind couldn't comprehend. I said, if you're living in a war zone, and you say goodbye to your parents because you don't know if you're going to see each other tomorrow morning, because you might get bombed and you'll die in your sleep. I understand why you'd kill yourself, because the anxiety is too much. But you're living here in Canada, you're not getting bombed on, your girlfriend cheated on you, so you took your life? You failed school, you dropped out, and it was too much, so you took your life? Do you see how everything that I saw that a person was depressed or anxious or suicidal, I would compare it to where we came from. I would compare it to bombs and war and this and that. And in doing so, it devalued a person's feelings. I personally owe an apology to at least a handful of my close friends. When we were talking about, it would go something like this. They'd say, Daniel, how are you? I'd say, I'm absolutely amazing. How are you? And they go, I'm a 5 out of 10. And I'd look at them and I go, dude, I don't know why you'd say that. You've got 2 parents, man. That's a blessing in this day and age. You're not terminally ill. You're relatively doing well for yourself. You're not living out on the street. You know that your family has enough money to keep the lights on. Why are you not a 10 out of 10? And no matter how I try to punch this message down people's throats, it's like they were like, so what? So what if I have 2 parents? So what if I'm not terminally ill? So what if it didn't connect with them. In one sense, it really made me upset, man. Because to me, it looked like people who weren't grateful for what they had. Here's where I made a mistake. I compared myself to them, which you should never do. You should only compare yourself to who you were before. The problem is, if I go to one of my friends and he says he's doing a 5 out of 10, and I go, dude, you should be grateful. You shouldn't feel like a 5 out of 10. There's people out there in different countries right now who are being put through horror. They're being traumatized and terrorized by their government. They're being beat up. They're just these horrific situations, man. Even here in Canada, just horrific situations of abuse, neglect, sexual assault, violence. Why are you not a 10 out of 10? The problem is, that's like going to someone who's suffering from depression and saying, hey man, you shouldn't feel bad because there's kids starving in Africa. It's like, dude, he doesn't care. Folks, there's a line that we got to be very careful of. When someone's not grateful, when someone's taking their family for granted, when someone's doing those things, we can look at them and go, hey man, you should be grateful. One day your parents are going to be gone. Be careful how you talk to them, dude. Hey man, you should be thankful for your relationships. One day that girlfriend of yours might just walk away. So you should take accountability and you should give appreciation for the things that you have. Folks, then you get to a point where someone is clinically depressed. The last thing I want to do is look at that person and go, dude, you just have a weak mindset. You should start being more grateful. You're just a wuss. People have it worse than you. You have clean drinking water. You have a roof over your head. You have no reason to be depressed. Here's why that's terrible advice. When you look at someone who's depressed and you say you have no reason to be depressed, you're invalidating their emotions. Folks, I don't know why people have depression. There are a plethora of reasons and it's extremely complex. One small factor that you can point at is sometimes the brain releases too much of a certain hormone. Sometimes it releases not enough of a certain hormone. For example, a low amount of serotonin in the body is often associated with high depressive symptoms. So for whatever reason, your brain is acting in a certain way. And I can talk about, well, you have clean water and you have two parents and you're good looking and you have this much money. You have no reason to be depressed. It's like, it shows you how disconnected people are from mental health problems. Don't get me wrong. If they're not depressed, if they're just bummed out and they're just moping around and you want to say, hey dude, you should be grateful. A lot of people would kill to have two parents. What people would give, dude, you got privilege, man. You got able-bodied privilege. You can use all of your limbs. You can think coherently. Right? It's a privilege that not everyone has. But once someone gets past that, and it's not just being sad, but they're actually depressed, my friends, your jurisdiction ends there. Unless you're a psychiatrist, psychologist, therapist, psychoanalyst, or counselor. How dare you tell that person with depression that he has no right to feel the way that he feels? It's messed up, man. It's messed up because it comes from this place of you're not being grateful when in reality, it's, no, you don't understand depression. You don't understand mental health problems, man. That's another line. I'm all with you. I believe in being grateful and honest and appreciative. And the reason I say I owe my friends an apology is because I was doing that. I was looking at people, not to say that my close friends were depressed, but they were saying, hey, Daniel, X bothers me. And I would show up and say, well, you have Y. And I said, well, Daniel, I don't care about Y, man. I want to talk about X right now. So what we have to do, folks, is we have to turn towards kindness, compassion, and empathy. It doesn't matter that their kid's starving in Africa. It doesn't matter that another friend of ours is growing up without any parents because his parents decided that they didn't want him, so they dropped him off at someone else's house, right? That doesn't make you feel any more appreciative. You've got a problem, and it makes you feel terribly. The last thing I want to do is guilt trip you and shame you and look down on you and go, you have no right to feel depressed. Well, and then you wonder why people with depression don't speak out? Man, sometimes I see these videos on TikTok, and these kids are young, man. We're talking 14, 15, 16, and there's this girl sitting in this nice car, and she's bawling her eyes. I think it was a Mercedes-Benz. And you look at the comments, and they go, yeah, like, what are you crying about? Like, you got a Benz, like, you idiot. Like, you're so soft. What a weak mind. And I'm just shaking my head going, dude, if you think that if you have a nice possession, if you think that a Mercedes-Benz makes you invincible from mental health problems, if you think that's somehow going to help when both of your parents die in a car crash, if you find out your son is diagnosed with Down syndrome, if your wife is given 6 months to live, but it's okay because I got heated seats in my Benz, do you hear how stupid that sounds? Like, it's baffling to me. On my Instagram, I put something recently. I was like, men's mental health, and I put a little arrow. It's Tyson Fury, heavyweight champion of the world in boxing. Awesome guy, very rich, very popular, has a beautiful wife, a beautiful family, and he has terrible mental health. He's tried to commit suicide. You tell me why the heavyweight boxing champion of the world, who's got a wife, who's got kids, who's got an amazing family, tried to take his own life. Is it because he had a weak mindset when he went in the ring in front of freaking 30,000 people and tried to take someone else's head off? You don't think it takes a strong mindset to do that? You don't think it takes discipline to do that? You think he's not grateful for the house that he has, for the cars that he has, for the family that he has? Really? Folks, if the heavyweight boxing champion of the world with all of his riches and fames can come out and talk about this, if Kid Cudi, the hip-hop and the rap star, can come out and talk about his mental health issues, if Kyrie Irving, an NBA basketball player who you know is doing well financially, can come out and talk about his mental health problems, when Neymar, arguably one of the greatest football players of the last 10 years, comes out, and by football I mean soccer, and talks about his mental health problems, what do you say to that? You have no right to be depressed because you're rich? Man, that's like going up to someone who has 1 million subscribers on YouTube and say, you have no right to break your leg. Or like, yeah, sure, you broke your leg, but at least you've, there's a little bit of truth in that. Like, oh, at least you have the money to pay for it. Like, fair enough. But this idea that the more money you have, you're invincible to feeling sadness, folks, that's not true. That's 100% incorrect. Studies will show you that there's a certain point of money where if you're making, there's no increase in your life satisfaction. If you're making $100,000 a year on average versus someone making $1 million a year, there is no difference in your happiness. If there is, it's due to some other factor. Look, money only helps your mental health if you're paying for the bills, you're not worried about paying rent, you can go on vacation every once in a while. But you being able to buy 3 Lamborghinis isn't going to make you that much happier than buying 1 Mercedes-Benz. So it's very contextual. I mean, that's what it really goes back to. So folks, we got to be extremely careful when we see people who we look at and we go, oh man, you have no right to be depressed. Like this other crazy thing, man, I heard on YouTube, some guy was like, depression is a thing of the West. Depression is only in the West. It's this weak mindset. And you know what? He's right. Where I'm from Iran, we don't have any depressed people. Did you know that? We don't have anyone with mental health problems. Why do you think that is? Is it because of a strong mindset? I don't think so. I think it's because it goes undiagnosed. Because if you're in those countries that isn't North America, man, a lot of the times, it doesn't matter whether you have burnout, social anxiety disorder, PTSD, ADHD, depressive symptoms. You're labeled as crazy. You don't have the resources over there that you might have in Canada or in America to deal with that stuff. Your family might shun you out. They might throw you out. Sometimes you're in a position where you might need the smallest medication could lift you on their feet. You could be a fully functioning person. You can get a job and hold down a home. But they just chuck you out. They go, you're crazy. Because when people hear mental health problems, they go, oh, he's schizophrenic. He's hearing voices. Or he's suicidal. Like no mother lover. His wife is about to give birth in 2 months and he's anxious about being a dad. He just wants to talk to somebody. He doesn't even need pills. Jesus Christ, he just needs to talk to somebody. Do we not go to school to be a counselor? Do we not go to school to be a psychologist? And why do we look down on people when they go see the fucking people who train to do that? It's like me looking down on my friend who breaks his arm when he goes and sees a doctor. Brother, did that poor bastard not study 12 years to become a doctor? Well, he's not going to sit in his arms twiddling his thumbs. You know what I mean? Excuse me. But reeling it back a little bit, the best thing you can do when someone is depressed, and this was such a beautiful quote that I heard in class the other day, was this. Folks, you can't save anyone. You can only support them. I can't force you to go to therapy. I can't force you to leave your abusive relationship. But I can support you. When you do leave your abusive relationship, I'm not going to say I told you so. I'm not going to insult you. I'm not going to talk about how smart I am and how you should listen to me. No. I sit down and I go, look, I'm sorry that happened to you. If there's anything I can do, let me know. I'm not in the business of proving a point. I'm not in the business of stroking my ego, folks. I'm in the business of mental health and well-being. I'll tell you once, hey, I don't think you and that guy make a good fit. But you say, no, I got it, Daniel. What do I do? At what point I can't hold a gun to your head and say you can't see him anymore. So I go, okay, I can't save you and you can't save anyone. I don't care if you're your son. I don't care if that's your brother. I don't care if that's your girlfriend. You cannot save anyone. That's my opinion. They can only save themselves. They have to choose to go to therapy. They have to choose to stop drinking. They have to choose to stand up to their boyfriend who beats them. And when they do that, you as a friend, as a brother, as a father, you can support them. I can't come in your ear and say, hey man, do you know how unhealthy drinking is? Hey man, do you know how bad it is to drink? But it doesn't matter. I'll tell you once, maybe once. After that, I can't force you to do something you don't want to do. But if you come to me and you go, Daniel, I got problems with my drinking, man. I am by your side, no questions asked. Folks, find yourself friends who will have your back, who will allow you to make mistakes, who won't do the helicopter thing, who won't forcefully shove it down your throat. This is what you have to do. This is the right way of life. You're making a mistake. But also when you get it wrong, they're still there to catch you. If you have someone who's depressed, and this is going to strike a lot of people as wrong or stupid or simplistic, but it's, dude, the best thing you can do sometimes is you look someone in the eyes and you go, okay, literally, I'm going to give you a script that I'm literally going to say off the top of my head. And I don't want you to copy the script verbatim, but I just want this to serve as an example. Okay, let's say you're my friend and you're in a depressive state, or you're experiencing signs of depression, something that we think is not normal, but we don't know. We're not counselors, we're not psychologists, but we both know it's a little strange, right? This is what I'd say to you. We'll call you Joe. Joe, I am so sorry. I'm so sorry for what you're going through. I can't imagine what that must be like. I want to thank you for feeling comfortable to share that with me, man. I mean, that's pretty vulnerable stuff. And I think it takes a lot of guts to be self-aware and to point that stuff out and go, this isn't normal. I want you to know, man, that I forever have your back. And if you ever want to talk or do anything or need anything, I'll be there for you. You know, this next hour that we're going to be sitting together at this coffee shop, you have my undivided attention. I'm not doing anything else. Nothing else matters. Not my phone, not my emails. You are my number one priority. I will not interrupt you. I will not tell you, hey, man, this is what you should do. I just want to listen to what you have to say. Sounds good? And anytime you want me to intervene or say something or get my opinion, just ask. So, folks, what did I do? I did several things. Let's break that down. So the very first thing I did was I acknowledged empathy. A big mistake that people do commonly is when someone expresses a negative event, we go, oh, well, it's not that bad. At least this didn't happen. Folks, that doesn't actually make someone feel better. A really good way to make someone feel better is you treat them with empathy and not sympathy. You say, Daniel, I got a parking ticket. Sympathy is, well, at least they didn't tow your car away. Empathy is, man, I'm so sorry to hear that. That must suck. Contrary to popular belief, you want to feel upset. And if I actually double down and I'm with you in that moment and we feel upset together, you'll actually recover faster. Rather than using the silver lining and saying, well, at least they didn't tow your truck, it's going to actually motivate the person to do the opposite and go, yeah, I know, but it's still $200. So you're actually making them fight to try to prove what a bad situation it is. Does that make sense? So the first thing you do, you treat it with empathy. Then you don't BS them. If you notice, I didn't give a sliver of advice. I didn't say what you should do. I didn't say what you shouldn't do. I was completely honest and authentic, and I said, if I'm not mistaken, I've got no idea how you feel, right? A lot of times someone will tell you something about their past, about their family members, and you got to be honest, you've never been in that situation. And just telling them, going like, look, I can't imagine what you must be feeling like right now. Like, I'm so sorry. There's a real human aspect to that, man, that says, you've got my attention, and I'm not going to BS you and start, yeah, I know what that's like. I got no idea what it's like to be sexually assaulted at the age of 12. So why would I, you know what I mean? And contrary, again, to popular belief, my honesty highlights how important and how damaging this current situation is to you. Right? Furthermore, what do we talk about later? This is literally just off the top of my head because I'm trying to be natural. I don't want it to be robotic and stuff, but I basically said, thank you for telling me, thank you for opening up to me. So praising people helps a lot. Folks, if you ever want to see something repeated, you praise them for it. It takes a lot of guts to open up to someone. You wouldn't even imagine. That person might have been thinking about it the whole week. So just being like, hey, dude, I really appreciate you opening up to me. You didn't have to do that, but you opening up to me tells me that you feel confident and secure, telling me your problems, and that means a lot to me as a person. And it makes me a lot happy that you see me as that guy because I want to be that guy. Right? Again, so you're doubling down, you're praising them for opening up to you, so that's great. And then as the conversation carries on, you just make sure that you nail the point of like, yo, you have my undivided attention. Nothing else matters right now. A lot of people, when you have a friend or family member who's dealing with a mental health problem, they're so quick to go, well, what advice do I give? Sometimes the best thing you can do, or sometimes, every single time, one thing that you should always do is give people your undivided attention. If I just sit there and go, I'm so sorry for your loss. I got no idea what that must be like. If you don't mind, I'd love to hear more about what that meant to you. What I'm doing is I'm being empathic. I'm being honest. So I'm not devaluing what we're like, oh yeah, that happens to everybody. Everybody gets sexually assaulted at the age of 12, right? I'm not devaluing them. I'm not silver lining them. It's empathy, not sympathy. And I'm asking them to expand, saying, hey, dude, you have my full undivided attention. Right now, in the literature of psychology, all journal articles that have been peer-reviewed by other psychologists, by other people in academia, will show that the number one predictor of success in therapy, in counseling, regardless of age, ethnicity, sexual orientation, political affiliation, or religious affiliation, is the relationship between the therapist and the patient. If the guy going in there trusts you and believes that the therapist knows what they're doing and believes that they can get better, the chances of them overcoming their obstacle rises exponentially. But if that patient or that client walks in there thinking the therapist can't help me, there's no way I'm going to get better, I'm doomed, this is just a waste of time, I don't trust them, they don't care about me, I'm just a number to them, the chances of that guy getting better or that gal getting better, it's less. It's not impossible, but it's less. So a huge part of it, folks, is just being empathic, giving people your undivided attention. And again, like my story earlier was, you don't invalidate people's emotions. You don't go up to your friend who's depressed because his girlfriend cheated on him and go, well, this kid's starving in Africa right now. It's like, that's not the time and place, brother. That's not going to make him feel better. What you'd be better off doing is just going, dude, I'm sorry. You must be in a really, really terrible mood, dude. That sucks. I just want you to know that it's completely normal to feel in a terrible mood, and it'd be weird if you didn't. And then if you just do little things to help them out, like if you go, hey man, like I'd be happy to give you a ride and we can go grab drinks or something, or do you want to hang out? Do you want someone to talk to? So, you don't have to be it's weird because it's almost like your best friend, maybe your family member. You have these people who are quote unquote like your counselors, your psychologists, your people who hear you out and who help you out. So it's awesome. It's awesome, folks. When you have people who really care, and if you're someone and you have people in your life who are dealing with mental health problems, if you can, the best thing you can do is just give them your undivided attention. But before you do, make sure you're okay. The last thing you want to do is you're not mentally 100% and you want to listen to someone else's mental health problems. You're going like, dude, I'm on the edge myself. You might tell me something, you're going to sweep me off the edge, and now I'm going to need someone to talk to. So please don't feel bad if you got to say, you know what? I'm not in a good place in my life right now where I can hear that stuff. I just need time. Because you don't want to stretch out your hand helping someone if it's going to hurt you in the process. Folks, thank you so much for listening. This was another episode of the Daniel Teaches Experience. As always, I appreciate you so much on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. I thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed. Please have an amazing rest of your day, and I will see you next week. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.